What did I miss? Brian here, and well, it's cloudy and it's pretty cold outside. In fact, let me check the temperature. Okay, it says it's 45 degrees in Houston, but it feels a lot colder than that. Hood is up because we got a new mod for the 4Runner, as you could tell by the thumbnail and the title, and it's something that needed to be done for a long time. Today, the 4Runner is getting new headers. I got them from a website called urdusa.com. URD is Underdog Racing Development. Same exact place where I got my URD white pipe. I'm gonna pick one up. Holding it in my hands, it's definitely not light. It's got some weight to it, but it's not that bad, depending on your definition of heavy. These headers are cat forward, and they work for the 4th gen 4Runners, 2nd gen Tacomas, and the FJ Cruisers. And for the years of each vehicle, I will put them in this video. Since I have a V6, there's a total of 6 exhaust ports, 3 on each side, the driver and passenger side, and each exhaust port has its own runner, as you can see there. If we take a look at the engine, you can see that the stock headers are actually... Can't see anything. Let me go to the passenger side. Much better. So as you can see on the passenger side, the stock headers is just one tube that goes across all 3 exhaust ports, and this is on both sides, and that's pretty restrictive. If you look further down, that is the primary cat. So the idea behind the short type headers is that this section of the OEM header is going to be replaced with the JBA header, and we're still going to utilize the factory primary cat. So this means that there will be bolting, cutting, and welding involved. Inside the box, we've got the headers themselves, gaskets, 2 stickers, one URD sticker and another sticker stating this vehicle is equipped with the JBA headers, installation instructions, a limited warranty, and a small box of various nuts, washers, and bolts. Now, onto the headers themselves. These are made of 409 stainless steel. They're not light, but they're not heavy either. Here, I'm holding the driver's side header, which has the JBA badging on it. The passenger side has no badging. Towards the front of the headers, you can see the holes where they need to be bolted into the block, and towards the back, there's nothing, and this is where they need to be welded to the factory cats. Flipping to the other side, there's a hole right on the collector, and that's where the O2 sensor will sit. Now, one thing that needs to be addressed is that on the mating surface, where it meets the block, it should be flat, and for some reason, JBA decided to leave some extra metal surrounding the ports. Don't know why they did that, even though the OEM headers are flat, but that extra metal will need to be shaved down to be flat like the rest of the mating surface. Now, usually I would go over all the tools and materials necessary for this job, as I do the work myself, or I would have a couple friends help me. I installed the Y-pipe myself, and I had a couple friends help me install the catback exhaust. However, since there's welding involved, I cannot weld, and I don't have a welding machine. That means I have to take this truck to the shop to get these headers bolted on and welded on. It's going to be a little expensive for the labor, but it is what it is. Though, the first thing we need to do is we need to go up to the OEM headers and soak the existing nuts and bolts with penetrating oil. That way, when the shop tries to take them off, they would not be struggling as much. Now, we need to soak these days or even weeks in advance, because chances are the existing nuts and bolts are pretty stuck on there. I'm at a friend's shop, the hood is up, and the engine is hot, but I managed to get all of the nuts and bolts soaking in penetrating oil for a week. The headers, as well as everything that came with it, are all in the back. I'm letting it sit overnight to get worked on because it requires welding. I don't have a welding machine, and I cannot weld to save my life. What's up, Henry? Thanks for your help, by the way. Okay. Well, there she sits. You can give it about 1 to 2 nights, depending on how much work goes in here. Until next time. Okay, 2 days later, I picked it up last night, didn't record it, but 4Runner is back home. There's a handprint on my intake manifold from one of the guys. But headers are installed. As you can see, there's the driver's side header. Oh, come on, if I could focus. There we go. And there's also the factory cat. If you look on the passenger side, same thing. There's the new header and the factory cat. Oh, guess I can't focus on that. But that right there is the cat. The headers were silver, as you saw earlier in the video. After a few heat cycles, they're already turning pink, which is okay because that's how you know they're working. Though I'm surprised the JBA badge is not discolored. It's still silver and shiny, and the rest of the header is pink, but it's whatever. But may I tell you, it sounds nice, and it sounds really smooth too. In fact, here's a sound comparison between stock, then with a wide pipe, catback, and then with the headers. So it's been about a month since I got the headers installed. I also cleaned the engine bay to make it look more nice and presentable, so there is no more handprint on the intake manifold. But I had to do some extensive testing on these headers, and some things happened along the way, and I pretty much had to fix them. I'm gonna say this now, I actually got a check engine light twice with these JBA headers. I got these mainly so I did not have to get a check engine light, but unfortunately, I could not avoid it. Oh, nice. That's a first. One problem with these JBA headers, and apparently this is a common problem, most people have experienced exhaust leaks between the header and the block. Surprisingly for me, I have had no issues with that. Though, I did have an exhaust leak, and it was past the header. In fact, it was between the catalytic converter and the white pipe. It just so happens that the gasket in between the two parts went bad, so I had to place an order for replacement gaskets, installed them, bolted the two parts together, and that solved the exhaust leak. Then the check engine light went away for some time, and then it came back. And that's because of the headers and the white pipe combined. I ended up getting the P0420 or 430 code, one of those, saying that the secondary cats failed, and that mainly has to do with the white pipe. Years ago, I removed the mid pipe with the secondary cats, added the URD white pipe, and now there's so much exhaust flow to where the secondary O2 sensors are triggering the check engine lights. What I had to do was go under the truck and add spacers to the O2 sensors, pushing them out a bit and get rid of the check engine light. There's the passenger side O2 sensor. Then there's a driver's side. Ever since I replaced the gaskets and added the spacers on the O2 sensors, I've had no check engine lights since, and I'm trying to keep it that way. So let's talk about the sound. With the headers plus the wide pipe and the catback exhaust, it's noticeably louder than before. Not obnoxious, but it is louder. It's got a throatier sound to it as well. It was a little bit raspy before adding the new headers. Now I think the raspiness went away. Upon cold starts, it's louder. It's not rowdy, but it's noticeably louder. And we've had some cold days recently here in Houston, Texas, and it's made the cold starts a lot more enjoyable, if you ask me. And it's just how I like it. It's not too loud, louder, but not obnoxious, and I haven't gotten any complaints from the neighbors, so that's a good sign. Now for horsepower and torque, unfortunately, I can't really say. I never took it to the dyno before and after, but what I can say is the engine revs a lot smoother. I feel like it's breathing a lot better with all the mods combined. Before with the stock headers, it was alright. It was decently quick, but in the back of my mind, I knew it could have been better. Now with these JBA headers, they definitely made it quicker. So why did I get JBA short type headers? Why not Doug Thorley's, or better yet, why not long tube headers? Well, to start off, I was trying to not get a check engine light. I couldn't avoid it because of all the other mods I've done to it, so I had to add a few things and get rid of it. Luckily, they were easy and inexpensive. With long tube headers, you're guaranteed to get a check engine light. From what I've heard, you can get a tune and get rid of the check engine light, but sometimes it's not guaranteed, and I didn't want to take that chance. Second, I've stated this already, they make the exhaust noticeably louder, but not too loud. It's not obnoxious, and it's, good enough for me. And three, they're cheap, they're cost effective, and surprisingly, they give good results. I got them off the URD USA website for only $370. Of course, they have to be welded on, and I can't weld to save my life, so there's a labor charge added onto it. Is what it is, but I'm pretty happy with the results. And so that's why I got the JBA short type headers. Again, they're cheap, but surprisingly, they give good results. Now, before getting behind the wheel and going for a drive, I'm going to go over the stock headers real quick. Here are the stock old headers, old gaskets, and then to the right is what's left of what came with the JBA headers. But if you look at the tubing, it's one tube that goes across all the ports. That is restrictive. I don't know why Toyota did this, but the JBA headers, each port has its own tubing. And if you look at the cut areas, you'll see there are 2 layers of tubing, 1 and 2, and this is on both sides. See that? Not sure why Toyota did this. There's so many questions, but I'm sure that goes with any other car manufacturer out there. And then with the gaskets, these are metal gaskets, and you can see that one side is clean and the other side is dirty. This is the dirty side, that's a clean side, and just to show you, that side's dirty as well. Surprisingly, these metal gaskets are still good, but they won't work with the JBA headers. You have to use the carbon gaskets that come with them. And one last thing to mention, these OEM headers, the front parts alone, are surprisingly heavy. Unfortunately, I didn't get the weights of these and the JBA headers, but the JBA headers are noticeably lighter by a few pounds. So not only did we increase the exhaust flow, but we did some weight reduction as well. It's only a few pounds, it may not be much, but you know, every pound counts, I guess. Sitting inside, I'm gonna turn the 4Runner on, roll the back window down, and then start the engine. Immediately with these headers, they make the 4Runner louder all around, both exterior wise and interior wise. It's not droning, it's not obnoxious, and it's not giving me a headache either, but it's noticeably louder. Before, with the stock headers, the wide pipe, and the catback exhaust, it had a decent sound to it, but it wasn't very much. With these headers, I feel like they enhanced the sound overall. I'm gonna have to pick up some speed a little bit, but this is what it sounds like whenever I put a little bit of effort on the gas pedal. Like I said, just a little bit louder, not obnoxious, and I love it. I will say that was 30% effort on the gas pedal. Not much effort, but one, obviously made the 4Runner louder, and two, the 4Runner picked up just like that. It gained some performance. Unfortunately, I didn't dyno it before. I'm not gonna dyno it now, but I can say that these headers, they gave the 4Runner a decent amount of pep to it. When it comes to normal driving, it feels really smooth and even lighter than before. Now, it's crazy to say because the 4Runner is a few thousand pounds, and I said this before, it felt lighter whenever I took off the secondary cats, but this time it feels even lighter than before. Now, being realistic, I only shaved off a few pounds. It's not much, and like I said, it's crazy to say that it feels lighter, but it really does. And on top of that, the 4Runner has almost full bolt-ons. I can't say it has full bolt-ons. It has the AFE cold air intake, then the JBA short type headers, then the stock cats, then the URD wide pipe, and then the Gibson catback exhaust. So all of that working together could be why the 4Runner feels like it's running really smoothly and it's light on its feet, or in this case, light on its wheels. Moment I'm sure everyone has been waiting for. Man, that sounds good. Man, I love that sound. I'm gonna roll the back window up. It sounds really nice whenever you step on it, and it doesn't sound raspy anymore. Before, with the stock headers, the wide pipe, and then the catback exhaust, it sounded a little bit raspy, and with these headers, I feel like they canceled out that raspiness. And so that is it for this video. This concludes the installation as well as the overview on the JBA short type headers. If you're subscribed, thanks. If you're not, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Take care, everyone. I'll catch you on the flip side.